All right, so you've seen the thumbnail and you know what this one's about. This is the Kraton EXB version 2 from Arrma, and we got our order in right away once we heard this was coming out, and it finally came in. We ran down to the local hobby store and picked one up, and here it is. It's in the studio, and I couldn't be happier. We really like this platform here. Still, at the same time, when we were loading it in the truck, we noticed that it had been opened. And come to find out, they opened it at the factory so they could upgrade the firmware of the speed control that's in it because they were having problems with that one. Now, it's the same speed control that came with the Big Rock 6S, and it came out with the original release of this, but it had coding problems and it was having problems with speed flattening out, and it had braking issues or whatever. We didn't experience any of that here, we just heard about it. This one's been opened at the factory and the firmware has been updated, so that should take care of all of that. Here at the studio, we have the version 1 version of this car, and we're going to get these things side by side and see what the differences actually are. Now, if you watch the channel, you know ours isn't all stock, but we know what we've changed, and we'd be able to tell whether it was a good thing or a bad thing what they did here. Now, the thing is, when we get this down on the bench side by side, we'll pick it apart a little bit and see what exactly they've changed, and then we'll decide for ourselves here whether or not it was worth spending the money for the new one or just upgrading the old one to get where we want it to be. In this video, we're going to go over all of that stuff. In the next video, we're going to take both of them out. We're going to test them side by side and see if there's any advantage to this one at all. This should be really informative, guys. Check this out. All right, so let's get this out of the box. And you can see they did retape it. There we go. Oh yeah, it's big. So it's got something right here on top. Let's get this off here. So this is just an assembly, and it shows you how to put things together as far as putting the tires and such on, so that's cool. There's our packet, and it looks like it comes with batteries, which is very cool. And it looks a little different because the tires and wheels aren't on it, and they feel a little soft. I don't know, these things could balloon pretty good. Usually I like the firmer ones. These are okay, but they feel a little bit on the soft side. There we go. And it looks like we got an inner box. Oh, and we do have a zip tie here. Okay. There we go. And we can get the radio out. It comes with the DX3, which is very, very cool. I like this one. It's a good radio. I'm seeing quite a few zip ties, so let's try and get this out of the box here. go, out of the box. And it looks like we've got 6 zip ties here, so let's go ahead and cut those loose. Okay. So as usual, it looks just like a Kraton as far as that goes. It looks like the EXB bumper on the front and the wing in the back. The arms look just the same as the version 5, and of course it has the EXB chassis, which is to be expected. I was hoping they were going to upgrade these. These are the plastic steering blocks, and I usually upgrade these right away. I'll probably get a set coming for it, but not until after we test it, of course. Everything else looks pretty good. They did redesign the rear wing mount. It looks a lot more stable now, so we'll see how that works out. And there they are, the aluminum diff housings. So there's one in the back. And you have to look in through here, but it does have them front and rear, so that's pretty good, and so far that's to be expected. Now, before we get inside of this thing, we got one thing that I just love doing, and that's this. They weren't playing when they put that on. And as expected, this looks really cool. So take a look at this real quick. Have a look at that paint. That's pretty cool. I like the addition of the red to it. It does add to all the red pieces in the body or inside the chassis, so that's a pretty nice addition. It doesn't look that much different than the version 1. I'm sure it does on the inside, but at the same time, I really like the look of it. So let's take a second here and see what came in the box with it. Alright, so what came in the box was a little more than I was expecting. Now you're going to get your basic stuff, and of course you're going to get the DX3, and this is one of my favorite RTR radios with just the settings and stuff that it has here. It's a really good radio. The range is decent. These are generally quick. It's comfortable in the hand. Just a good radio, so I'm glad to see that it came with that. But the packet had quite a few things in it, and of course first it came with batteries for the transmitter, so that was nice. And it does, as usual, come with this rudimentary toolkit. It's got a wheel wrench, it's got the shock wrench, it's got some rudimentary, just basic Allens. This would get the job done. It would take a while. I would definitely recommend getting better tools than this. But if you're stuck in the field and that's all you have, it will work. But what it does have, and I think this is really cool, here's some new plates for the differentials. Now, I looked in the manual and had a peek at it, and there is only one limited slip diff in this thing. The front and rear diff are open normal diffs. The center diff is the limited slip one, and here's an extra set of plates for it, and it's a full basic set. So that's pretty cool there. Also, they started doing this a while ago, but they're still doing it, and here are some shims for the diffs right here, and there's 2 here and 2 there, so there's a total of 4 in this kit. So it does come with extra shims so that you can get your stuff dialed in, and it also comes with the speed pinion so you can get your fix on for some speed. That's pretty cool. It comes with some extra stickers, but here's the thing. Here's your setup manual, and this is the big one. See how big that one is? This is the big setup manual. This will walk you through everything, how to set up the radio, how to deal with the speed control, how to do all that stuff is in this one. The one you want to keep an eye on, however, is this little technical one, because this little technical one walks you through the important stuff, how to deal with your shock absorbers. Here's the thing, how to deal with the differentials. Now the thing about this is, here's the 2 different differentials, right? So this is the center diff right here, center diff, and that's got the limited slip plates in it. This one, front and rear diffs, and I looked on the exploded view for this particular car, and these are the ones that are in the front and rear, and there are no diff plates in there. They are just standard differentials. I am really happy to see that, but alongside of that, this one also has the main explode for the car, so it has all the part numbers and everything you'll need to get things up and running if you have a problem. I say this a lot, guys. I'm going to say it again. Keep the small one. This one's important. All right, so that's what comes with the car. Now let's take a look inside the car and see what they've changed. All right, so I couldn't wait. I had to put the wheels and tires on it, and you guys have seen me do that before. It's pretty straightforward. And that little flyer that was stuck to the top tells you exactly how to do it, and it even gives you the torque specifications, so that's pretty nice. With the wheels and tires on it, it looks pretty cool. I really do like the look of it. It looks a lot like the other one as far as that goes, and I have it sitting right here. So this one's been modded a little bit. But here is the original version 1. So we're going to put this over here on the bench. And we'll get to that in a minute. But first I want to get down inside this. Now we shot some images of the inside and we'll feed these in as we talk about it. But I really do like the body and it looks very much like the old one. It just has a lot more red involved in it. So it has basically the same paint job with new stickers. That's what it looks like. And still at the same time, this is pretty much the same vehicle, but it does have some pretty interesting changes in it. And we'll start right over here. It does have the same motor in it, so it's got the 2050, and this is what it is. It's the 2050 from Spectrum. Yep, just double checking to make sure. So it has the same motor in it that these always seem to come with. They had the BLX, and it was the 2050 that came with that, and then they switched over to Spectrum. Same basic power plant. This one does have the upgraded speed control, and I hope that they got it fixed up so it works right. If I have to, I'll swap it out, but we're going to try what they gave us to start with. So with the motor and speed control combo in there, things should run like always, so this should be real comparable to that one because we like to keep things stock here. On the front, we do have the EXB shock towers, and of course, all the stuff on this is EXB. I'm aware of that, but I'm just going over it so you know what it is. So it does have the EXB shock towers, and they're the bright red ones. They're nice and thick. It does have thicker standoffs, so the nuts and the attaching points for the shocks are bigger than they used to be, so that'll be really good. It also has the aluminum diff housings, and it's just the housing here, guys. It still has the standard diffs inside of it, but the aluminum housings, we've been having problems over the years with plastic not being the same all the time. And we have problems with these things blowing differentials. Now, hopefully with the metal differential housing in here, it'll hold things truer and you won't have so much problems with the diffs failing. If you get it shimmed properly, temperature shouldn't be such a big deal as far as fluctuation goes, the way plastic works. So hopefully that'll work. And we, of course, we have them in the front and the back. And also right here on the drive shafts, these collars right in here, they're bigger now and they're more substantial. It's got a bit of a ring. That should help keep the drive shafts from popping out. Also, the tie rods here, these ones here, the ones in the front, they're all much bigger than they used to be, so that's very cool as well. Take a look at it over the top. The layout is just like the old one. However, this one does have some metal components in the servo saver now. And what we wound up doing in our other one is we put an all aluminum servo saver in it, and that needed to be dialed in. This one, I worked it back and forth some, and it appears to be working good. It's much tighter than the original one that came on the version 4 and the version 5 and this EXB. The new one's got a much snugger system, so you shouldn't have so much problems with the wheels not turning when you want them to. They redesigned the shocks a bit. It's got custom plungers inside here. It also has vents on the top so you can set your oil correctly, and it does tell you how to do that in that smaller manual, so it tells you how to do this. They also got rid of the bladders in the top so it doesn't isolate the air from the oil anymore. They call that emulsion. So as the shocks work, it foams a little bit, but that's what these are designed to do, so we'll run those to see if that's a cool thing. And on the back, it's got a completely new wing mount. I mean, completely. This no longer attaches into the plastic of the housing here because this is all aluminum, but it hooks into the shock tower in a very real way. And this is a really big attachment point, and there's 4 screws across the back now, and they're staggered. So that should give it a lot more strength, but it also goes up and over through the shock tower right to the inside of this tower to tower brace section, so it looks like it's going to be really strong. That'll be interesting to see how that holds up because we've never had good luck with the stock ones to this point. Hopefully this one holds up. Also, since we mentioned it, we do have the tower to tower brace, but this one's been modified. The top of the central diff housing has a new attachment point, so now there is a single that goes to that point and then another single that comes off of there. So now there's 2 points that meet in the middle which means when this tries to move back and forth, it'll have to move that centerpiece too, which gives it a lot more strength. So that should also be really good for that. I really do like the front bumpers that come on these things. I put them on a lot of my Arrma stuff because they are so good. Other than that, I think we hit all the high points. It has a 6-channel radio in it with the gyro, and of course, like I showed you before, it does have the DX3 in it, so this should be a lot of fun. It does also have this warning right here on the speed control, and it warns you that this needs the right kind of power to function, or you could burn up the speed control. So I'm assuming that that has to do with your C rating and stuff to make sure you have adequate power to the speed control. There is a little cube here that you can scan with your phone, and it takes you to their website for Spectrum, and it drops you right on the page for that speed control, and they have all kinds of manuals and things right there that you can access so you can get all the details for this. So that's all in there. Everything looks pretty good. The differentials, front and rear, they all feel pretty good, and it'll be interesting to see how that center differential works with the limited slip in there, considering these will be open. So these have pretty light fluid in them. It feels just a little stiffer in the front, but that just could be because it's new. But they roll easy enough. See that? They roll easy enough. But when you get that LSD working in the center, when it starts to really spin up, it should get those front tires involved, and that should be pretty cool. And there's a couple different ways you can set that up. You can set it up really mild, or you can set it up very aggressive. And when you use those, keep in mind the LSD diffs do go through fluid faster. It burns it up. Make sure that you change out your fluids on the regular. So there you go. That is the basic insides. And I really am happy with the purchase at this point. I hope it was worth it because we already had one. Oh, there we go. And now we've got two. Now we'll see if this is any better than the other one. Keep in mind this one hasn't been upgraded and that one has. So if this doesn't need anything right out of the gate, it's better than that one. So we'll just see how it goes. All right, so as promised, now we're going to do the side-by-side comparison, and we're going to get both these cars, they're on the bench side by side, and we're going to do some flyover for you and show you what the differences are between the original version 1 and the version 2. This is just what we see on the surface, but we do know basically what's going on with these two cars. Keep in mind our version 1 has been pretty well modified. It's kind of the budget modifications, but it does work. And here's what we've got on it. We've got the wheelie bar change out, which you can't get anymore. T-Bone's out of business. It does have Italian wing on it, and that's just because we didn't have a Kraton wing to replace it with, so it still has the Italian wing on it. It has RPM arms on it, and at the time when we needed to put those on there, RPM didn't make the version 5 arms, so it's got the version 4s on it. That's part of the reason it sits lower than the other one. Okay, that we have a video showing you how to do that, but don't worry about that because now they make the version 5 arms. It has the RPM wing mounts on the back. Most of the other stuff is stock except for a couple of things. Now it does have the aluminum servo saver in it, and it also has the aluminum steering blocks, and that made a big difference as far as when it doesn't want to turn and all that stuff. So all of those modifications are in this one. The drivetrain itself, motor, speed control, and whatnot are all stock. It does have a modified servo, but we're not really comparing that. The new one, I understand, has a better servo on it, so we'll see how that works. Other than that, it's pretty much stock. So we're going to get side by side and show you what the initial differences are between the two cars. Check this out. All right, so there you go. So if you guys have a version 2 EXB 6S Kraton, and I said that backwards, so let's do it the other way. If you guys have a Kraton 6S EXB version 2 at your place, please feel free to get, and you are encouraged to do this, guys. Get in the comments and share your experiences, good, bad, or sideways. Get in there and tell everyone here what exactly you've experienced with your car and what you think of it, cost-wise, performance-wise, whether it's worth it or not. Share that with the community. That will help people make informed decisions. If anyone else has anything they'd like to add to this video, please feel free to get in the comments down below and help others along the way. Hey guys, for AJ Jam Studios, I'm AJ saying, keep bashing, guys.